the class ended the class ended Saturday night, and Sunday I spent an extra day there. So I did. Oh, I went. Yeah. Oh, yeah. I made a few contacts by the beach. There's a nice walking path, and made a few contacts on a picnic bench, and then a few more contacts from my balcony, and that was pretty much it. There was no place to operate in Madrid on my way back, and I just walked around town and taking pictures and enjoying the food and relaxing somewhat. But I, the activity for ham radio was more an experiment. I was using the new portable AX3 Elecraft antenna, and I didn't bring the long radial to counterpoise to use it for 30 meters. I couldn't get an SWR below 8-to-1,
Oh,
and I left my 40-meter coil at home here, so I didn't get on 40. And just 40 meters during the daytime in Europe is not like 40 meters in the daytime here. It was dead as a doornail. Yeah, I would be getting on at like 10:30, 1000, 1100 Zulu, and there was nothing on, nothing. So it was kind of interesting, which I'm sure Jonathan knows about. It was kind of interesting. I did work at Belgium station, Finland, Turkey, Czechoslovakia, Russia, and a couple other stations. But you know, I did hear during the contest, I heard a few U.S. Eastern, mega stations on. But let me find a picture of my station, and I guess if you can set me up to share, Bob, I'll share it.
it's all set up. Go
It's
ahead.
all set up. Okay. Well, let's see here.
While you're doing that, I just say yes, it's very different in operating from the States on some of the bands than it is over here. And when I did contesting over there and over here, I have to put in a different mindset really for when to be on what bands and things
Yeah.
like that. I did listen. I knew you told us before that you were going and you would be BA stroke,
Yeah.
and I did listen, but I didn't know you were going to be QRP. But I didn't obviously didn't hear you in WPX. But I worked a lot of stations in Europe as well as across the States and
Well,
elsewhere.
usually I'm QRP plus. I'll take my KX2 with me or KX3 so I can run. Wait, I need to close the window here. Hold on a second.
It's a lot of, I wonder if they're flying me downtown.
I wonder if the National Guard's landing in Santa Monica here. It's huh. Wow.
We can't hear it because it gets filtered
Oh,
out by
yeah, it's
Zoom.
quite loud for me.
Zoom's pretty good at filtering that sort of stuff out.
Well, I just have to find where my some pictures are. Oh, I guess well, I could just run through. I didn't want to bore you with all the pictures unless you're interested, but
We don't have a lot of other things to do this afternoon other than dead air, so knock your
dead
socks
air.
off. Yeah.
Well, if that's the case, I'm totally brain dead. Okay, here we go. Uh, okay, am I sharing it?
We don't see anything other than you.
Okay, let me go back to screen one.
Yeah,
Okay,
sharing's on. You got it.
so do you see a map on there or
No?
no? Okay. Oh.
There we go. Now you
There you
got it.
go. Ah, bingo. Okay, there's my route to now how do I do this? Wow. Huh. Well, this is Here we go. Okay. I decided to fly with Iberia Airlines, the Spanish national airline, an A350. There's my setup in Madrid on a little patio.
Wow.
So it wasn't much. I heard a lot, but it was contest time. Yes, just a little breakfast area at the hotel. I couldn't fly direct at a good time from Madrid to Menorca, and I'm sure everyone's heard of Mallorca, the bigger island. So I flew by jet, an A310 Airbus to Mallorca and had an hour and a half layover. And then it was a 28-minute flight on this ATR 72-600 twin turboprop plane, which was really a lot of fun to fly. I have to reminded me of my Air Force days in a C-130, and I was sitting right by the engine. So that was fun, exciting, and yeah, it broke up the monotony of a jet. And this was the hotel in Menorca called the RTM Adex. One unique thing about this hotel, it was adults only. Yay. Right on the beach. And went for a walk after I checked in, and there's my beach setup where I worked, I think 1 or 2 stations.
Wow.
Nice, comfortable in the shade bench that was perfect for operating. And my meal that night, you're not interested in that, but and there's a close-up of that plane I flew. Somehow these are not in right order. So this is Menorca. This is a hike I went on that I screwed up my leg to a little bay with a beach. There's the
What was
beach.
the weather like there, Don?
The weather was between 20 and 24 degrees centigrade.
How about for us in the States? What are those numbers?
What about 72,
very
73
comfortable.
degrees?
Okay. So very pleasant.
Very pleasant. It's the shirts, short, a t-shirt during the day.
Was it humid there?
No humidity. It's like Hawaii visual and no humidity.
Wow, great.
Zero humidity. Now they had mosquitoes there. Not here at the beach, but when we went hiking for our night shots. So I coated myself with mosquito repellent, and I was able to ward off the mosquitoes, but they went right through my shirt and pants.
Oh boy.
I mean, I don't know how they did that.
They were hungry.
And during the day, I coated myself with 100 sunscreen. Here's a little map of the trail I took in the area. So that's a close-up of the beach. This is not a close-up. It was hard to concentrate playing radio when all the women were wearing these thong bikinis. Good
What
thing
did
I'm
your
an
wife
old-
say?
I mean, she laughed. Good thing I'm an old guy now. There I am, a terrible selfie of a photographer with a tree growing out of his head. But that's me on my hike. And that's our photo group checking in on Sunday afternoon. People were from all over the world: Malaysia, South Africa, Cape Town, Dominican Republic, the States. So we were a diverse group.
Who put on the seminar, Don?
The seminar, the whole event was put on by a group called Photo Pills. Photo Pills is an app on your phone that you pay for that tells you where and when the sun or the moon or the Milky Way or meteor shower will show up in your neck of the woods. You can plan a photo shoot so the moon comes up at a certain location. It will give you the angle of the moon, and you put little dots on the map. And it's a satellite map you can use. There's different maps, Google Maps. There's different maps you can use, and it will show you where you're standing and where the sun or the moon will show up. So when you see these pictures of the moon on top of the Empire State Building or the Statue of Liberty, they use this kind of program to time it. They know exactly when that will happen. I used that program when we were in Scotland when we were in Glasgow, the Clyde River, the sun was gonna, I saw in the program that the sun was gonna be setting underneath the famous bridge on the Clyde River, which was like a block and a half from where our hotel was. So I've had all this planning. I went out there before the event, and then our group took off to go out to dinner that night, and I missed it. One of the bad things about traveling with a group. So this is a famous lighthouse that we took the sunset pictures from. So we left the hotel at 4:30. It was an hour drive to get there. And yeah, we had like 3 buses for all of us. Yeah, a lot of time, yeah, all the time it was 3 buses. Unless the group was there was 4 groups. It was split up into 4 groups, and each group had a different colored band on their arm. So sometimes we'd only go by one group to a shooting site. This is one of the slides that we had during the photo classes. Some of the food, oh, that hotel had the best food in there. I'm a foodie, so the food was just awesome there. They had 2 paellas every day, and I love paella. Crispy bottom, it was really good, really good. And fruit and all kinds of desserts. And this is our leader. His name is Raphael Pons. He didn't make the program. The programmer was there that wrote it. He just is very involved with the company, I guess you can call it, and putting on seminars and YouTube videos and everything. So it was all about landscapes. And here's my balcony from the hotel room, and the same setup. I love that little radio. It hears a lot. I can run 5 or 2 watts. I programmed the memory with the CQ at EA6/NK6A, and I worked a fellow in Belgium right away, which was kind of fun. We had actually a long queue, and nothing great, but right next to the building, I didn't have any building noise, which usually for hotels in the past, when I've tried to operate on the balcony, the electronics in the hotel would just kill me. And it was very, very quiet. I threw the counterpoise over this little plastic railing down the side of the building. I was on the 5th floor for the first 7 days, and then I was on the 7th floor for 1 day. There's only 7 floors. Oh, one of my lunches. Now this was a dinner. They had fish and mussels and all kinds of delicious stuff. And fruit. Here's the setup for my setup for an upcoming sunset. And the sunset. Let's see, does this have the video in there? I don't. And this was a famous arch that people walk through, with small boats can sail through. And if you time it right, a couple of times a year, you can get the sun setting between this arch. That's what that program is for. It'll tell you when that happens. For us, it was setting there this time. The sunsets were outstanding. This part of our group. Here's my Milky Way shot at 2:30 in the morning. I don't know if you can see my mouse. This structure is 4,000 years old. So there's a lot of history here. This is a famous site. And one of the instructors, their specialty is having people in front of the sun or moon. In this case, it's the moon. And silhouettes shooting from way back with a telephoto lens. And then we had light painting one night, which I didn't attend to because I was so tired from, getting up at 4:30 in the morning a couple of times and not sleeping between 3 a.m. and getting up again at 4:30. I skipped the class, which I was but there was a couple from Canada, from Montreal, and they do light painting. They make these tube lights, and he's dressed in black behind her and just moving lights, and with a long exposure, they get these kind of photos, kind of cool. So here's part of the group shooting at another site, the Milky Way. Another paella. I'm obsessed with paella. This was the pool, and I didn't use the pool, but if I wanted to, the event included one spa session and they have a spa up here and massages and such. There's a little town nearby. How do you pronounce that, sweetie? Ciutatata?
Ciutadella.
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 I was there twice for the group
Ciutadella.
and just shot around town. I didn't show you all the pictures. Everybody was taking pictures of steeples and churches and buildings. I decided to focus on different door knockers. So I didn't include that yet, but they have some interesting door knockers from 100, 200 years ago. So this was the view. We took a boat ride on Saturday to last day, and we ended up at this little town. A little fisheye view of the town and the harbor. And at nighttime,
You
yeah,
tell
some
us
of
a
the
little
sunset.
Can you tell us a little history of the island there?
I do not know the history of Menorca. It's not as popular as Majorca. It's very small. They make their own. They have very good cheeses there. They have a number of. I saw a few cows on our trips, but they make some very good cheeses. It's almost like a hard jack, and they also specialize in a gin that is a different botanical than your normal gin. And it was very, very good. And they have a drink that they use like a lemonade, a fizzy lemonade with the gin, and it's very refreshing and good. And they make it two ways. One, they with ice cubes and they put it in the blender and it comes like a slushy, but you have to be careful drinking that. And they serve it in a martini glass. And then what I had the last night was on a couple of ice cubes, a lot of gin and that lemonade mixture. That was really, really good. Good thing I could just walk to my room.
That cure all the pain that you felt?
The pain by then was gone, but then I had another pain the next day from no, that gin was excellent, excellent gin. I should have taken a picture of the bottle. It's a very unique bottle too. So the sunsets by that lighthouse were just fantastic, as you can see. And this was part of this fellow here, he's from Cape Town, and he specializes in either wild animals or landscapes in and around Nambia and all these wonderful DX locations. Yeah, that's him there. He puts on also a little seminar, an in-house seminar for up to 4 people he takes on tour. So yeah, this guy here does wonderful photography. And that's me with the leader here. And that's me again on my 7th floor, operating the radio once again for a couple of more cues. And you can't see it there. There's a little bee. I didn't have the right lens with me that trip. And some more in the bridge. I think this is going backwards now. I set up for I was at that bridge before during the week, and because I missed a class when I joined my team again, we went to the same place, so I decided to do a time lapse this time of the sunset. And there's a better view of that 3,000-year-old, 4,000-year-old. That building actually was a crematorium. Inside are little like fireplaces where they burned bodies apparently back in the day. Oh, we were fooling around late at night. I guess everybody was silly at 2:30 in the morning, using high beam flashlights and shooting, beam me up. And then we had a boat ride all over the marina. People went swimming, and there I am on a little hike off the boat. Oh, somebody's birthday was there, and they were drinking some kind of, I guess it was a margarita in a fancy vessel. There's 7 lighthouses around the island. Yeah, there's the name of the town right there. That's the biggest city where I was staying in Cala Galanta. Oh, jamon, love it. There's a little,
Those Spanish hams.
yes. Well, it's not. It's a leg.
Leg, yes.
Iberico. It's the Blackfoot pig. They only eat acorns, and the Iberico ham is delicious. Sliced super thin, melts in your mouth. Very good.
Costco sells that.
Who?
Costco.
Costco? Really?
They did, yeah.
Oh, we had it on the boat as a little snack.
It's very expensive ham.
Very extreme. They'll sell you one of those legs to take home with you if you can afford it.
Yeah.
Now, there's a night shot of the hotel grounds, and that's the little. Yeah, I went for a little walk on Sunday around the little harbor there, and I took a little movie picture too. But yeah, there's the name of the town I was staying in. That's the hiking trails. Yeah. It, it's not very smooth because of my arm problem. I have some pulled tendons in my right arm, and although I have in-body stabilization on the camera, it's kind of jerky. I had a 24 to 200. No, I had my 28 millimeter lens, a lighter lens, but I just wanted to show a little flavor of the little trails around the harbor area there, or beach.
Doesn't look like a Holiday Inn.
No, not Waikiki. Yeah, so there's the hotel. There, the water was so blue and clear. You could see fish swimming. I mean, it was just incredibly clear. No pollution whatsoever. They had these cute little renta things. I don't know. They look like a car. You can climb up and go down the slide. Very popular with families and children there. And my brewski for tonight. A bowl of, that was my lunch. That's right. I had some mussels. Tomato bread is very good, and a beer.
Mm.
That was the view from my room the last night, my seventh floor room. And if I was stupid enough to get up at 2 a.m. from this spot here in the middle of that pedestrian bridge, I would have seen partial northern lights and the Milky Way.
Mm.
But I rather had slept, which I did. Another view. And my little friend Betty, who came with me. And this is the bus leaving at 6:45. They go to the airport. I didn't get the video I took. Oh, yeah. My lunch in Madrid, patas patatas, and gazpacho, delicious. It's gazpacho season now.
Ah, yes.
And there's a food court there that's really popular and big. Oh, I didn't show Sheila this, all my cow. There was a window display of cows.
You didn't buy any?
I didn't buy any. Oh, this room I was in, the hotel was super high tech in Madrid, and it had all these fancy, it had a control on the bed for all the different lighting moods you want. And, so when the lights are on, you can change colors, green, blue, red, yellow, around the perimeter of the bed and the shower. It was really weird. Oh, and while I was walking around Madrid, I looked up and there was this moon, and I was walking around just with my Panasonic camera, a little smaller one. So I took a quick snapshot. It's 800 millimeter zoom lens on it. So this came out quite good.
It's a big lens, 800. Wow.
Yeah, it's electronic zoom, but so
It's heavy.
actually very light. It's a very small camera. It's almost like it's a fixed lens, so it's almost like a point and shoot. But you can shoot
Wow.
in manual mode, which I had it on. So this is near Puerta del Sol where I was staying. Very, very crowded with tourists, extremely crowded. And this was this
Lobster.
was the marketplace. They had a little booth for every type of food you want. Of course, the paella. And there was a mural in the town that was the same place where we took our pictures of for the Milky Way, and there it is on the wall. So three of us had some girls took our picture with their cell phone. Yeah, that's this fellow's from the Dominican, and this fellow's from Malaysia. Oh, here's my video. Oh. Do you hear the sound, or should I? Did you
We
hear
don't hear
sound?
anything.
You didn't hear
No.
sound. Okay, I have to share the sound. Where did my well, it's not much to hear, but it was loud in my ears. Boy, how do I share sound? Give me a second here. Oh, here. Oh, unmute. Okay. Well, it's only guitar music, not a big deal. I'll play this without the sound. Hmm. Hmm. Jeez. Yeah, I don't know how to get the sound going. Okay,
Very nice.
you can unsure me. There you go.
Well,
Don, did
thanks.
you say that there was auroral observations that people were seeing aurora from
Yeah, there was
north south?
we know we had that big E event of the sun that week.
Yeah.
And some of the space nerds in the class said there's going to be a small bit of northern lights visible. And one of the people on my bus was up at 2 a.m. to take that picture, and he showed me his picture he took. And sure enough, there's a little bit of color in the Milky Way.
Hmm.
Not much, but hey, should
That's
I
That's a
have
long
gotten
way
up?
south.
I
Yeah, that
probably
far
should have.
south. That's crazy. Yeah.
I should have
Yeah.
gotten up, but I didn't.
That's a long way south to see any northern lights. I mean, we struggle here, and they're
Yeah,
well south
Yeah.
of us.
but it
But
was
we
kind
have
of
had some
cool.
really strong ones. We've had some really strong ones recently where it's been very vivid here. So I can imagine further south it's visible, but paler.
So that's my photo trip. I learned a
Very good,
lot.
Don. Thank you.
And,
Very
yeah,
nice.
That was great.
and ham radio wise, it was I don't know if it was a bust. I had fun. It was always nice to try. I'm basically a QRPer since 1980, although I chase DX in contests with 1,000 watts. I enjoy QRP a whole bunch, and I enjoy operating portable. So almost every overseas vacation and trip I've taken, I've always taken a portable radio with me. Um, when we went to Spain 2 years ago, I did not take the radio because looking before I go on a trip, I look at the hotels we're staying in or the bed and breakfasts and what parks are nearby and timing available. And it didn't look right 2 years ago. We had a lot of train travel and busy, in Barcelona, there was just no place to operate, of course. And we were touring, and at nighttime I was busy eating and drinking and enjoying the community. So radio took a back seat 2 years ago, but I knew I'd have a little bit time, and since I have that new KH1 and it barely takes up any space, I had to take it. And I never changed I took another battery. I didn't take a charger with me. I just took the battery fully charged in the radio, which is about 11.6 volts. And I took another battery charged before I went, and I still had lots of juice left, so didn't need to replace that. So
Don,
that's
what did you have to do to get a reciprocal license?
oh,
Was
it's automatically. It's called a CEPT. A number of
Yeah.
countries in Europe honor that system, where I brought a copy of my license and I brought a copy of the CEPT, and then I went online to see, and it coincidentally before I went, uh, a contest last year, I forgot which one. Um, I worked a station in Menorca, an EA6, and I emailed him right away, and he wrote me back like instantly, and asking him about operating there and places to see, and he gave me that idea for the hike I went on where I screwed up my leg, but he wasn't available to meet because he runs a holiday park, a camping park. So he was going to be, the season started in middle May, so he wasn't going to be available. So, but it was nice of him to, I've done that with a number of hams before we go over. I see if they were in my log, and I send them a little email, and we chat. So that's that. And then, some of them I meet at the DX convention, G4IRN in Great Britain. There, we communicate a lot, and he rode with me up to Visalia and back. And there's a fellow in Porto and a couple of people in Lisbon. So I try to. In Italy, there was somebody also that when I operated there that we spent a couple of days with, and visited the Marconi Museum and operated the Marconi radio station club site there. So
Oh.
it pays to communicate with your contacts and stay in contact with them. You never know when you'll be there.
Yep.
Yeah, I know John G4IRN.
Yeah.
I operated with him in a number of contests, and he was the first person that introduced me to the Bengali Traveller Key. He had one of those when I sat with him, and so I tried his out, and I thought I got to have one of those, so I ordered one. So
Did you just have a
John
field
taught me.
day Did you just have a field day last week? Yeah, yeah. I saw a picture of him and his team. They were operating someplace.
Yeah, this last weekend was Region 1 Field Day, so Europe and us.
I don't know what radio he has now. He had an FTDX 101, and before that he had a K3. So I was communicating with him, was setting it up for RTTY and all the stuff. The early learning I had when I got this radio.
Well, I'll mention your name and call next time.
Oh,
I
he'll
see
know
him.
me. Yeah, yeah. He operated my station here, and we spent a couple of days together. So
Cool.
yeah, very nice guy. He a younger guy, stays in shape. When he came out here, he rented a bicycle and went on all kinds of a ride through Hollywood and LA, and stayed here in Venice when he came back. So yep. So that's that. That's me. My other hobby: eating, cooking, and photography.
Yeah, you didn't go hungry, did you? I could see
Yeah.
you were quite well fed on that
I
trip.
did
So.
too much food. A couple of days I just had a salad for lunch. That's what I normally eat here at home. You can't get what was weird on the last Saturday where we had after the boat trip, we walked around town for a few hours and we had lunch at 2:30 at a restaurant. And it was 60 plus the 12 instructors plus 4 or 5 of the staff. There was a lot of people at this restaurant upstairs. And it was a multi-course meal. And the meal went on till 5 o'clock.
Oh my God.
And we pre-ordered the main course, and so they were going to take the bus back at 6:30, but 3 of us decided we're going to take a taxi cab back. So we took off early. But But then we had dinner that night in the hotel, a going away dinner at 8:30 or 8 o'clock.
Oh my.
And then at 10 o'clock, we had they had a little outdoor party by the pool with singer and music. So, yeah, too much food, too much food. A lot of tapas. I'm happy with tapas. I don't need an entree. Oh, yeah, did they have dessert? Yeah, they had dessert. And they had all the wine we could drink. That's right. I was drinking lots of wine. Tempranillo, yeah, good red wine.
Yeah, but Menorca is a much nicer island to go to than Mallorca because
Yes.
it's less commercialized and it doesn't attract the rowdy element and stuff. So it's nice and quiet, and it's a nice location actually. It's one of the
Less
nice
commercial.
islands.
Yeah, I had to spend 2.5 hours at the airport in Mallorca, and there was just tons of people, lots of, you know, although, foreigners, U.S. foreigners. I mean, it's a popular. And Menorca is less touristy, very small, and my kind of place, my kind of place. So I'd go back there in a flash. Yeah. So it's a you can take a ferry from Barcelona or you can fly there. It's very easy to get to. It wasn't easy for me because I didn't want to get in late at night. Yeah, the airline did me a favor. I could have gotten a direct flight back after they changed my flight twice if I left at 11 o'clock at night, getting into Madrid at 12:30.
Those ATR aircraft that you mentioned, jets, they're quite common again in Europe. I don't know about over there, but they're quite common here for short duration trips. Between
Oh
places
yeah,
like that.
yeah, yeah,
We
yeah.
see a lot of them. My
So
cat's in here. If you wonder why I keep turning away, I'm trying to get this cat. She's very nervous, but I'm trying to get her to come in. My wife's away at the moment, so I'm on cat duty.
ah,
Come on.
does the cat
No,
jump
she's
on
got
top of
one.
your radio for the warmth?
No, no. She, she's not very keen to jump on anything, to be honest. But she's a bit nervous.
So the
Ah, it's
band
very good.
conditions. So the band conditions at 1000, 1100 Zulu is dead where you are as where I was.
Yeah.
So
You mentioned the propagation. I mean, on early in the contest on WPX, it was okay, but then as the weekend went on, it got worse and worse and worse. It was just horrendous. So it was quite a tricky contest. If you chose to do a sort of limited hours thing and chose the second half of it, it was a waste of time. But you needed to be on right at the beginning, really.
yeah, I had the idea of giving out a number of contacts and having some fun, but that didn't materialize. So
Yeah,
that's
when you're
okay.
QRP, you need the conditions really.
Well, you need a better antenna. I mean, I have, when I normally go to Europe, I take a vertical, it's called an HFP vertical, and it's all bands, one band at a time, but it's all bands, and it has very high gain because I worked the
Mm,
US on that antenna, so with 8 watts. So,
right.
but you need the
Hmm.
real estate to put it up, and I knew on a balcony I wouldn't have the real estate.
Ah,
So that's fine. At the beach, I could have used it, and I could have got closer to the water also, but it's noisier at the beach by the water.
yeah, yeah.
So I had fun. It was a good lesson, propagation wise, with the other side of the pond, what it sounds like, and how loud the Europeans are during a contest.
Yeah,
I mean,
that's why it's hard for us to work some of you guys. When
yeah.
if you're strong, it's okay, but if you're weak, or we got so much stuff off the back from Europe when we're beaming at you, it's quite tricky.
And since I also operate POTA and SOTA, I thought I could try to work some SOTA stations because they're basically QRP, but that didn't work out either. So I
Yeah,
couldn't work the bands I wanted to, but it was fun and I've done it. It's
yeah.
done.
Sounds like you had a good balance of photography, bit of radio, lots of food, and nice
Yeah.
break. Yeah,
So yeah, all the tick marks were checked off. I'm good.
Where's the next trip down?
Probably Alan and I up to Oregon.
Okay, I'm waiting for you.
Yeah, I'm gonna see how my arm is. I have to go for a trial run maybe this week on the motorcycle and see if I can
Uh-huh.
handle it or not. Uh,
What bike do you ride?
a BMW F750 GS.
Uh,
It's a It's a smaller bike than I used to have, which was a 1200.
Oh boy.
It's still two-cylinder, but very advanced electronically. Electronic suspension, electronic riding modes, where it changes the mapping of the transmission and shift points. It's a very sophisticated bike.
I had one of the first Honda 754s in this country in the early 60s, but that was many moons ago when I rode.
Well, I thought they came out in the early 70s. I'm sure
Maybe it
did.
was the early
Yeah,
70s.
it was like 74.
Yeah, I think that was when it was. You're right.
Yeah, yeah. So, yeah, this
I
bike,
took a trip. Go ahead.
yeah, I got a high of 62 miles per gallon last year on my trip to Oregon. Depending on the speed and, how much I want to fool around.
I took a trip one summer from LA up to Penticton, Canada, and back with another fellow. I rode the Honda. He had a Triumph, and he took an entire engine in parts with him. That's how reliable they were. Literally, he did.
They're more reliable now.
Yes.
Well, Hondas were always reliable,
Yes, I
Yeah.
took a toothbrush. That was it.
Mhm.
and they're easier to maintain and cheaper to maintain.
Yeah.
Um, Nowadays, to change the oil on my bike, I don't have one oil plug. After you remove the oil plug and drain the oil, you go inside with a 5 millimeter long hex key, and there's another oil plug up there. Don't ask me how or why. So it's like dual oil changes. You fill
Wow.
it one time, but there's two reservoirs.
Yeah. Wow.
It's definitely strange. I have a wet clutch. Well, my other bike was a dry clutch, and this bike is also not a hydraulic clutch. It's a mechanical clutch, which is different. But and it's only a 4-gallon tank, which gave me fits when I got it. I was paranoid. My other bike was 6.2 gallons at 52 miles per 52, miles per gallon.
Yeah.
So now I have to think about getting gas on long stretches or never pass a gas station without stopping. I take Highway 50 a lot, which is the loneliest highway ever in Nevada. And there's like a stretch of like over 72 miles, maybe 80 miles without a gas stop. So
There's a young lady on YouTube. I don't know if you've ever watched it, called Itchy Boots.
yeah, I watch.
Oh,
I
you know
follow
her?
Yeah, I've been following her.
It's amazing. She's gone places and things I would never do. Highways on the edge of a cliff that 1,000 feet with no guardrails, and
Yeah,
she just rides like nothing to it.
she's a little crazy. Yeah, very
She's
crazy.
very bright. She's about 38. She's a graduate
Geologist.
geologic engineer, I believe.
Yeah.
And but she has traveled literally the world on these motorcycles and gone places with lions and elephants right on the road there. I mean, she's out in the middle of God's country, literally, and it's amazing. She's got a lot more guts than I ever had. That's for damn sure. But she's still at it. Itchy Boots. If any of you guys want to watch it, she's amazing.
How does she get to bike from one country to another?
Well, she ships it, of course, but the last bike, or the bike that she's on currently, I think was built for her in Germany, an amalgam of 2 or 3 different bikes, a frame from one, an engine from another.
It's an old
And-
Yamaha.
Is it? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, very old. I mean, there's no electronics. We're talking bare
Right.
bones.
Right.
One mirror on the side,
Right.
if it's not broken from one of her falls. But
Right. Exactly.
one thing that was it keeps bothering me. She's dropped it a number of times and bent to gear shift.
Right.
Why? I wonder why they didn't install crash
Guards.
guards on her bike.
God, I don't know.
Her little 350 Honda had crash guards. Yeah, she does some interesting things. She does it partially for the effect for the YouTubers. I mean, some of
Oh
her
yeah, that's how
desert-
she
yeah,
makes
I
her
mean,
living.
Yeah,
but-
yeah.
But she does this full time. She doesn't have a job. This is
No,
what she
that's
does.
her job. She makes a lot of money from it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, she fell, well, she's fallen a
She
number
broke
of
her
times.
collarbone
Last-
and
yeah, she broke her collarbone. She
and
flew
some
back
other
to,
injuries. Yeah. Oh, collapsed
right.
lung. Yeah, she
Yeah.
in the middle of nowhere in was that Africa? Yeah.
Right. And she carries a little pendant or something that I guess communicates with a satellite
Yeah,
to
it's
let
a
somebody
Garmin.
know
It's
she
called
needs
it.
help.
It's called a Garmin InReach. It's a SOS button.
I
Works.
see.
It works very well. You can send text messages with it, and
Oh, really? Okay.
yeah, you get help.
Well, it's amazing where she's been and what she's done. As I say, I wouldn't have the guts to do half the things that she's done. Certainly not alone.
Well, you can buy her book now.
Yeah,
It's
she's
in
on a
English.
book tour right now.
Yeah, I don't think you mentioned she's Dutch, for everybody
Yeah.
listening. Yeah, she's one crazy woman. Yeah, she's got over 2 million viewers.
Wow. What do you think she generates income wise?
Oh, there was a lot of other YouTubers who made that theory in conjuncture how much she makes. I forgot what the figure was. It was a lot of money. It was over
Well,
300,000.
good for her. I mean,
Yeah.
she's gone places that you and I would never have the guts to go to, and ridden
Well,
in
this last trip,
conditions.
she flew her bike from Germany to Turkey.
Yeah,
And she started her trip in Turkey. And she went to Iran. She
she's
all
been to
the-
the North Pole. She's been to Africa. She's been to South America.
Nepal, Italy, India. She
She's
first
been all over the
started
world.
she started her trips in India. And she bought the Royal Enfield, which is a pretty reliable bike for back there.
Amazing life. Amazing
Yeah.
life.
Yep. Okay. That's it for me.
So, Rob, is there any news from NASA you want to tell us about?
Nothing to tell you about. It's a lot of chaos, a lot of churn.
Yeah,
We're not sure what's going to happen. We're just
no, I heard a bit about it.
keep our heads down and keep coloring, keep doing the job, keep executing the mission, and
Yeah.
cooler heads will prevail.
Mm.
It's
I
looking,
hope we're still alive.
yeah, looking pretty ugly right now.
Mm.
Hey, I've got I'm halfway through a project. I wanted to get some of the wisdom from you guys here. I have a 100 amp hour lithium iron phosphate battery that I power radios from. I put a cheap fuse block on it with an automotive fuse, and I'm getting probably 1.5 to 2 volts drop across that when I key down with a 100-watt radio. So what I've done, I think it's probably just because it's a cheap Chinese fuse block. There's a lot of resistance there. I bought one of these things. I don't know how well you can see that. I got to get it in front of my face, I guess, here, which is a circuit breaker. And I'm hoping, I just got it today, haven't installed it yet. I'm hoping it has less resistance. Has anybody had any experience with these things? It's kind of an automotive circuit breaker. I got a 50 amp one. I know that's way too much margin for what I'm doing here, but I just I've been really it's taken me a while to kind of figure out what was going on. It shouldn't have been that hard, but I noticed I've got a K3 hooked to the battery, and when I key down, it shows like 11.1 volts getting into the radio. If I plug it into my Astron supply, it's 13.2 volts. So I know it's not anything in the radio, but it's got to be that fuse. And I can look at the voltage on the battery, and it's 13.2 volts across the terminal. So it's got to be that fuse block. But
How many amps does it draw?
it's typical. I don't know if I've measured that, Dave. It's probably 15 to 18 amps or something like that. I think it's something like that. They always tell you 100-watt radio to get a 23 amp supply. Well, they never draw quite that much, but it's probably something in that range, 15 to 18.
Is it an older battery?
No, it's a new battery, and the battery itself, I put VOM across the terminals, and it's showing 13.2 volts when I key down. It's just by the time it gets to the radio, it's 11.1 volts, and
What kind of, are you
I
using
would
power
just to
pole
test it, I would
connectors?
take a known power supply that you know works
oh,
and put that in place of the battery.
I've done that. Yeah,
Okay.
I,
And
I did that
still
with
get
an
the same voltage too?
Astron linear supply, and it's showing 13.2 volts, and it's the same cable that I use. And in answer to, I think it's Don's question,
Yeah.
yeah, it's power poles, Anderson power poles.
Do you still get the same results?
No, when I run it from the power supply, I'm seeing 13.2 volts at the radio.
Oh,
And I'm seeing 13.2 volts across the battery, or 13.3 or something like that across the terminals. So it has to be that fuse block. I haven't
Rob,
actually put, yeah, go ahead.
Udo, who joins us every now and then, makes his own 3D printed battery boxes and builds all of his batteries. He sells them to all the guys in the clubs for Parks in the Air and everything else like that. When he saw me, I brought my 710 out and I bought a little short pigtail for the back of the Yaesu 710 with the fuses on the back. He goes, get rid of those. He goes, first of all, you don't need them with a battery pack. He goes, second of all, you're going to get voltage loss on it. So you're going to lose power. He said that as soon as I brought it out. He says, you don't even need it on there. There's no reason to have it on there.
Yeah, I understand that.
About him.
Yeah, usually
Why don't you need it on a battery?
I don't know, Dave. I think it's because you don't have power surges and things like that, like you would with potential other things, power supplies. I know they're supposed to be steady and everything else like that, but he told me that to get rid of them because you're going to lose power on it when you're out in the park. I didn't do it, of course, but
yeah, I really feel a lot better having something in the line with that battery, because that thing, it could cause a fire. If I had a short in the connectors or something, I power it off of, or I charge it with solar. I've got a 100-watt panel and a charge controller, Renogy charge controller. But yeah, I know those cables that come with the radios are like for mobile setups because they have a fuse in the positive and the negative side. And I think there's some kind of a possible sneak circuit if something goes wrong in the car and you start a car, you can have that starter current going through the radio. So that's why they put it in the negative side as well. So, but yeah, I'm with you. I'm not sure that it's necessary on the radio side because the power supply has crowbar protection. But the battery, I just feel like I need something in the battery there just in case.
Bistro, French bistro.
all right, guys, I'm out of here. Sorry I didn't participate much. Not feeling the best today.
feel better. Look in the hearing aids, Neil. Brian.
No, it's all the fun. We got bad air down here from Johnny sending his bad air down from the fires and stuff like that. It's been bad here. So,
Okay, Brian, take care.
Until next week. Have a good one, guys.
I'm leaving
Yeah,
too.
It's
10 o'clock. 10 o'clock here. I should drop out. So nice to see you all. I'll try and be back next week.
Stay well.
Hey, Jonathan.
Hey guys, this is U.S. Senator Don Ossoff. Please skip this ad.
There's that dreaded dead air.
Hey, Rob, how's the granddaughter doing?
She's good. She just turned 6 and
Wow.
6 going on 16, I think, from her attitude. She's a pretty saucy little kid, but yeah, she's doing great. Yeah, you guys kind of saw her grow up here because she was here, every day. And how long have we been doing this? Is this 3 years or 4 years or something? Or when did this group first start?
Oh, it's more than 4 years.
I think it was right before COVID is what
Yeah,
Carl said.
Yeah.
it's about 6 years.
Man, that's like her lifetime.
back in the beginning when we were first on this afternoon, we were talking about all the police problems that are happening out on the West Coast. And one of the things that I've been discussing with my son, he came in to speak to me a while ago and show me a thing that he'd found. But we had I guess a whole different attitude in the police departments years ago. And on that, I can actually speak from experience. I don't know if you see this very well.
Yeah.
But the thing from Shreveport, Louisiana, back when I was a much younger person, and spent a period of time with working on that. And we had, I guess, the people that were in charge had an attitude that we were supposed to be the public servants. And that was absolutely enforced to a degree that is hard to consider, that's even in the picture now, looking at the material that we're seeing on the news broadcasts and stuff like that. And I just wonder, where did things go haywire along the way in the last 60, 70 years? I'm thinking that the police have gotten to the point where they give it verbal acceptance that they're going to do the right thing. But every now and then, something comes along that is just beyond their training and that sort of things. So they do these things like shooting the girl in the leg that you spoke of earlier and that sort of stuff. I had a group in Stevens County that pulled me aside for a license check. Been about 2 months ago, I guess. And this was in the middle of the night, black as the Dickens. And there was not another street light or anything like that anywhere in half a mile. And pulling me over like that, I couldn't see what was going on. And it turned out they had a police car parked in the middle of the street, but it was facing away from me. So there was a smaller amount of lighting going on. And the shade of the blue that was visible in it was very similar to the blue that you could see coming out of a truck that gets parked in an adjacent house quite frequently. And I was just thinking at the time, and I told the guy who stopped it and pulled us over that if I had set up in a location like they did back in those days, I would have been out of the department within a day or two. We were told that we did traffic stops for insurance checks and that sort of thing in lighted locations. And this was anything but. You top a hill, and all of a sudden, just beyond that hill, here's one blue light in the middle of the highway, just sitting there blinking. And people walking around that you couldn't really see. They didn't have the yellow vests on or anything like that. This is a situation that should not be happening now. It's frustrating to see it. It's apparently commonplace.
You know, you're asking, Frankie, where did things go wrong? And boy, let me tell you, that's an open-ended question. Things started going wrong when we tolerated things that should not be going on. And when things got acceptable and everybody was saying, well, it's my right, my right, my right. And it was different when one of the things I can say about being close to 91, when I was a kid, everybody's street that you lived on was like a little community. And if there were, let's just say 50 houses in an area, you had 50 mothers looking out after you, and you had better behave yourself.
Yeah.
And not be disrespectful.
I think that's a key word, Neil. Respect. I
Yes.
think that it's gone by the wayside.
Yeah, and that's where, you know, I was brought up a certain way. And maybe the old ways were good. Maybe the old ways were better. I don't know. I don't have the answer to that. But I can tell you one thing that I can remember as a kid growing up. You respected your neighbors.
Yeah.
You respected any police officer or fireman, because back then, of course, all the firefighters were men. And so the term was fireman. You respected any clergy. It didn't matter what church or whatever you went to. You respected the other clergy. You respected the school teacher. And I can remember growing up as a kid in school, the school teachers, I think that somebody in the school system must have had a relative who sold the school system little yellow slips of paper about so big, and teachers used to write notes on them. And if the teacher sent a note home asking to see your mother in school the next day because you'd done something wrong, that was pretty bad. If the teacher wrote, I want to see your father in school, that was like saying, should I commit suicide now or later?
Yes.
Because I'm sure get a whooping from my dad because I'd done something wrong. So it's a question of respect. Today, I try and be tolerant and respectful of people, neighbors. It becomes very difficult when men want to compete in women's sports, and because it's their right to do so. Okay, well, I don't agree with a lot of that stuff. It's things have changed a lot. And I'm not so sure they've changed for the better. I don't know. It was simpler years ago, Frankie, when you and I were kids.
It was certainly that.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
it was definitely different, and it was respectful. There is no way that if a police officer spoke to me about something, my only response as a kid would have been, yes, sir, no, sir. Now they throw things at a police officer or they spit at a police officer. They just,
It's just an attitude that's
yeah,
absolutely gone.
it's sad. It's really sad. And I'm not so sure I like it. You know, I think that we do have a lot of freedoms. I think we live in a good country. I respect my flag. And I got annoyed at our homeowners association, and I took them to task because at the tennis court, they had a flag flying all the time. And so I said, you are not respecting the flag. And I said, well, what do you mean?
Define it at least.
You're not respecting the flag. And I said, well, why not? We fly it. I said, flag courtesy. And I said, I know flag courtesy because I was an Eagle Scout. And that meant something to me. And flag courtesy says several things. If you fly the flag after sundown, several things has to happen. It must be illuminated.
Right.
If you fly the flag
After dark,
in inclement weather where it's raining,
have a light on.
it must be of material that will not degrade like cotton. And that's a big thing. And so I said, if you're not going to illuminate the flag,
Get down.
then somebody has to take it down at sundown, put it up again in the morning. Well, we're not going to do that. I said, then take the flag down. Don't display the flag. When we put out the flag, for, holidays, so national holidays, I had a flood lamp. We have a 3-car garage, a small one and then a big double one. And it's attached to a bracket that it hangs out like so. And I had a floodlight put in so that I can unplug it. It doesn't have to be on all the time. But when the flag goes out, that flood lamp is on. And it comes on at sundown. When the sun goes down, the flat light comes on and it illuminates the flag. And it stays on until daylight. Then the light sensor shuts itself off. And that's the way it is. And upstairs, we have 5 bedrooms in our house for 2 people, which is probably a little nutty, but that's okay. And one of the upstairs bedrooms is what we call the library. And the library literally has bookcases all the way around that room. And on top of one of the bookcases, in a triangular wooden frame, I have my father's flag from World War II. I have his wings pinned to the flag, and I have his dog tags. Of course, originally they were Mom's, but when she got well up in years, she gave it to me, and I got the frame with the plate, engraved plate I had made with his name and rank, etc. And that's how you respect the flag. When things went south, when people started respecting each other and neighbors and people, that to me is when it all started. I'll get off my soapbox.
Well, I think we, all of us here at least, share that soapbox willingly. One of the things that is quite different, of course, now is we have other religions, which I guess some of us question as whether they should be actually termed religions or not. But that made a major difference whenever those people became part of the United States. As long as we had a compatible group of religions, we were able to mix together readily with respect for each other's thoughts. And it's just a whole different ball game now.
Yeah.
It's never going to be the same again, I'm afraid.
Well, there are a lot of things that are happening that are just hard for me to accept or understand, or maybe I just don't want to. One of the things, the big changes to me in the hobby of ham radio, and I've been doing this for 65 years now. That's a long time. I figure in 65 years I had to learn something. And to me, it was sad when the Atlanta Radio Club, which was a major club in the Atlanta area, and I had the honor of serving as the president twice. At that time, that club was pushing 500 members and would get at a meeting well over 100 in attendance. And as it kept growing, they had to move to where they would have a meeting room that would accommodate all those people. And I started to see changes. Recently, the Atlanta Radio Club was going to have its 98th Ham Fest.
Wow.
Yeah. A week before the Ham Fest, it was canceled. And that was sad to see. A lot of changes have taken place. Companies disappearing in the hobby. MFJ, MFJ, now Step IR.
Collins Radio.
Step IR, yeah, they're shutting down their what they call the consumer division, which is ham radio. They're going to only have
Military.
the commercial, military, and government sales. And they say that they're going to have parts for ham radio equipment as long as until they run out. And
Neil, what happened to the Hamfest? Why did they cancel it?
you know, Rob, I can't answer that. I know John Talipsky, well, Jr. I know the son, who's now in his 50s, but I can remember John as a little kid coming with his dad, John Sr., to, ham radio club meetings and all. And his father and I have known each other for a long time. And I need to drop Junior a note. I know the son very well. He's a very nice young man. And ask him why. I expressed some disappointments in the Huntsville Hamfest. And to me, that was another premier Hamfest. I didn't like some of the things, and I said something about it to the club management at Huntsville. And of course, I never got a response. And that was kind of a disappointment to me. But I can remember, because I was very much involved with the Atlanta Club, in 1982, the Atlanta Radio Club hosted the national convention for the ARRL. And it was at the Georgia World Congress Center, which is a huge, huge convention complex downtown, very much like Von Braun Center in Huntsville, except it's bigger. And let me tell you, Huntsville Von Braun Center is not tiny by any sense of the imagination. Well, if you can imagine something 5 times the size of Von Braun, Rob, and that's the Atlanta, the World Congress Center in Atlanta. And you name it, they were there. It was so big that there were companies like Highgain, and I remember it fondly because their national sales manager for Highgain was an old friend of mine who's now a silent key, Alan Kaplan. And Alan was the national sales manager, and they showed up for their display with a crank-up tower and one of their big beams, and that was in their booth. And that was not unusual. It was such a huge complex that vendors could do that. And funny thing is, yesterday I was looking through a drawer looking for something, and I found we had made for the national convention a special patch, an embroidered patch, and it said Atlanta 1982, and the logo for the Hamfest National was a peach, Georgia peach, with headphones on the peach. And I found 2 of those upstairs. And the other funny thing is that the state of South Carolina actually now produces more peaches than Georgia. And I had an old friend, and let me think of his name. David. Anyway, he was an insurance guy up in Connecticut, and we were good friends. He was not a ham. And so I was going to send him a gift of a bushel basket. He was with Connecticut General Insurance Company in Hartford. A bushel basket of Georgia peaches. So I went out to the Atlanta farmers market, which is very large. And I walked around to the different stalls and whatnot. And I finally found somebody who had the old time bushel basket and had it filled with peaches. And back then you could ship things with the Greyhound Bus Company. And Greyhound was going to take it and ship it up north. So when the guy went to find the basket cover, you know, they were made out of slatted wood, I guess you'd call it, and it had a metal closure. You remember the old time?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Put it in the handles.
Yeah. So the guy went in the back at his place at the farmer's market, and he came out with a lid, and it was from South Carolina. And I said, I'm not shipping this guy peaches from South Carolina. And he went scrounging around and finally found a lid that said Georgia on it. And I said, I don't care whether the peaches came from Georgia or South Carolina, but it's going to say Georgia on it. And I took this bushel with the peaches in it. I made sure I got them where they were not quite ripe, and took it to the Greyhound. Greyhound put it on a bus underneath where they would put the luggage. They slapped the thing on it. They delivery to Dave, whatever his name was, in Connecticut General Insurance Company in Hartford. And he got it about 2 days later. It took that long to ship it. And he said they had Georgia peaches all over the insurance company because he would spread them out with everybody. And I just kept my tongue in my mouth and didn't say, well, they're not Georgia peaches. They're really from South Carolina.
I'm surprised if he got any of them. My experience with such stuff like that, it would have disappeared piece by piece along the way.
Yeah. Well, Frankie, my background when I was gainfully employed was in agricultural engineering. And I don't remember Julian's farm name, but he was down in Albany, which, if you know, Albany, Georgia is a very, very big pecan growing area down in that area. And I helped Julian. I designed his irrigation system for his huge pecan orchard that he had. And so I went there and I was decided that as a Christmas gift to all my friends out on the West Coast, I was going to send the pecans because they didn't grow them on the West Coast. They grew walnuts pretty much. But so I got pecans and I went to Julian and I said, I need to get some pecans. And he said, no problem. And I said, I'd like some of those, it's known as a schlei, was the type of pecan. It's a paper thin pecan. You can crack it by taking two of them, put it in your hand and squeeze it, and you'd crack it. Otherwise, the shells were hard to break, but the paper shells were easy. So he had one of his workers he said, go get Mr. Neal some pecans. And one of the workers shows up. He's got this huge crocus sack full of pecans. And I looked at the label on it. It was like 95 pounds of pecans. And I said, don't you have anything smaller? He said, no, sir. He said, that's the smallest I could find. So I took the 95-pound sack of pecans, dumped it in the back of the car, and took the crocus sack and went to a company here in Atlanta that sold, like small boxes. You could fold them up, and I had a 5x7 box would hold about a pound, maybe a pound and a half of pecans. And I would fold the boxes up and I could ship it UPS and ship them out to the West Coast to all the companies I dealt with. And that was a funny thing when he came back with almost 100 pounds of pecans.
I'm gonna get going, guys. Bob, you can leave it recording still till the end, and I'll pick it up from there.
Okay, great. Thanks, Dave.
Thanks, David.
See you next week, I think.
Okay,
Yeah.
pal.
Okay.
Yeah, I used to be in my neighborhood. I was the Pied Piper because I dealt with the United States experiment station down in Perry, Georgia, which Frankie knows. It's in South Georgia.
I know that. I went to school in Valdosta, so
Oh, okay.
I
Well, yeah. Well,
it's Albany, right? Albany.
Yes. Albany.
Albany.
Yeah. Well, and so I went there, and one of the researchers was a good friend of mine. I had written a paper on micro irrigation, drip irrigation, that was published. And I asked him to read it to catch any, errors that may have been in there. And he went through it. And what was interesting was they would grow all sorts of fruit and tree nut. It was the fruit and tree nut experiment station for the USDA. And they could not sell the produce. So when I would go down there and we would get together, we'd have lunch or whatever, I'd come home with the entire back seat of my car full of these big grocery sacks full of peaches, full of nuts or whatever. And I just take it and I'd go to all my neighbors and I'd bring them fruit and nuts and whatnot, whatever. And I can remember getting blueberries that were amazing. And the blueberries you could take, and it's called blast freezing. You would take them fresh, put them into the freezer, and blast freeze them quickly, and they would last for quite a while in the freezer, and you could defrost them. And strawberries that looked like golf balls. They were so big because they would grow everything under absolutely perfect conditions, and they would test for diseases and whatnot. And it was always interesting to see what they were doing. I don't know if you've ever seen how they harvest pecans, but there is a tractor they use, yeah, and the tractor has a special attachment. And Rob was saying, yeah, it shakes the tree and the nuts fall down on the ground, and then they come through with another device. It's like a sweeper, and it sweeps the nuts up and puts them into a huge hopper that's behind it. But it would shake the trees, and when the nuts were ready to be harvested.
Yeah, the other place I went to school, I went to grad school in Las Cruces, New Mexico. And there's a huge pecan orchard, no kidding, just south of Las Cruces. It's called the Stallman Farms. And it seems to me like they had part of that shaking rig was like a big sheet kind of a thing that would go under the tree, and it would catch these things and they'd sort of roll down in. But that was all flood irrigated. That was right on the Rio Grande River.
Yeah.
And they just had irrigation laterals that would flood the under the trees. That was an interesting place.
What we dealt with, Rob, and what I was involved in was micro irrigation, commonly referred to as drip irrigation.
Mm-hmm.
And the drip irrigation is very interesting because it was started by an Englishman. He developed the technique and in England for what they call glass house watering. We call it a greenhouse. The Brits called it a glass house. And he developed this. And then he moved to the Israel area, and the Israelis perfected it because it was desert. And the drip irrigation would be put at the root area. These little devices would drip out, and they would have them like 1 gallon per hour, 2 gallons per hour, etc., up to as much as 4 gallons an hour. And the drip irrigation, what would happen was it was known as an onion effect. And if you can envision, I'll turn to the camera, the irrigation on the soil level here, and as it would drip, it would be like that in the root area only. So it was making efficient use of the water because they didn't have a lot of water in the desert. And so that was the onion effect, and would put the water and the nutrients. You could inject the nutrients, the fertilizer, in with the water if it was water soluble, and it would put it right at the root, and it would be absolutely dry 2 feet out from the root system. But where the roots were, it was moist. And there was a chap, funny that I was talking to Nancy about it, because she has a device that will measure the water tension, or how much moisture is in the soil. And that thing was developed by an old friend of mine, a chap who lived in California, Sheldon Pooley, and it was called an aerometer, and it had a ceramic tip. And these aerometers came in different depths, as much as 3 feet long, and they would measure the moisture in the soil. And then he went further. He developed an electrical switch where if the water level or the moisture level fell below a certain amount, it would automatically turn on the irrigation system. And one of these days, I'm going to look and see if the Arometer company is still in business, but be kind of fun to do that.
That may be the same company, but it very likely is different. Out in California now, they're using that same process on pistachios and on almond trees.
Yeah, there's a company called Netafim, and then when it was an Australian company developed a irrigation tubing, polyethylene tubing that had laser cut holes in it, and it would dispense water for row crops, primarily of things like that took a lot of water, like strawberries, things like that. And the company I represented, we would ship the tubing, black polyethylene tubing. And why they would use the black, because the ultraviolet would not degrade black. It had carbon black in the tubing, and it would be good. And so one of the customers ordered a full truckload of tubing, and it never got delivered. And finally, I got in touch with a shipping company, and I said, "What happened to this tubing?" Guys from the shipping company said, we don't know. I said, how in the hell do you lose an entire semi-trailer, 53-foot trailer with irrigation tubing on it? How do you lose that? He looks and he says to me, Neil, it ain't easy, but we sure as hell did. About 2 weeks later, they found it, and it was in a terminal that the company had, because somebody said, why is this trailer, just a trailer only, no tractor, but why is this trailer sitting here for 2 weeks? So they broke the seal on the trailer and opened it up, and in it was the tubing. And what apparently they said happened was the driver is an independent, hooked up to the wrong trailer. And when he realized that he had hooked up to the wrong trailer, he went to one of the other terminals, dropped it off, and just left it, hoping that nobody would find out. But that was a funny story. The response was classic. How do you lose a whole tractor trailer full of tubing, like 80,000 feet of tubing? It ain't easy, but we did. Yep. It was fun.
Well, I think we've come to the end of today's group. Unless you guys want to
Yeah.
continue on, I got some things I'll do. I can leave this on if you want.
Nah,
Uh,
it's
I gotta go.
it's almost 6 o'clock here. It's getting close to dinner time. It's 5 o'clock for Rob.
Got a DX Club meeting tonight, so I got to
Ah.
get ready for that.
Well,
Yeah,
all right.
we,
You guys have a good week. Stay well. Be safe. We'll see you next Tuesday.
All right.
Stay-
Thanks for setting it up, Bob.
All right. Thank you for coming.
Stay well.
Enjoyed
See ya.
it all.
See you, Frankie.
Okay.